Good morning, Rich. How are you?
DP, how are you?
I'm good.
Getting through your Los Angeles week?
Yeah. It's that 4:20, 4:15 wake-up call.
That'll get you.
I don't care. Can we create an alarm that actually sounds better when you wake up?
The worst thing for me is in this era of iPhone is if somebody's ringtone is my alarm tone. And it's the most jarring thing around, like, because you just think of the worst possible moments when somebody else's phone rings. Obviously, it's something I can get through. I can work through it, but just for that split moment, it's something.
Yeah, I think we need to come up with something that's just a little more soothing to wake you up.
So it's tough for you here, the 3 hours or earlier, but if you hang for the weekend, the NFL games kicking off at 10 a.m. And the Saturday night football games kicking off at 5 o'clock. It's just awesome. It's great. I mean, the Michigan-Ohio State game that has been troubling.
So that's going to be like 9 a.m.
9 a.m. kick. 9 a.m. kick. No, it's great. Just get it out of the way. I can't. I just got to get to it. Got to get to. So it works. Like the early. I mean, my kids actually saw the World Series because, up until the 10th inning for half the games, but first pitch being 5 o'clock out here, it's great. It's great.
Have you been to Ohio State, Michigan?
I've never been to the Horseshoe.
Okay.
Obviously, my last game I covered for the Michigan Daily was Bo's last game as coach, which was Michigan-Ohio State at home. His last game was the Rose Bowl, where he called a fake punt on USC with 4 minutes and change to go that worked and got called back due to a hold that to this day I still haven't seen on film. Wow. And he threw his headset down and nearly fell ass over tea kettle and got 15 more yards tacked on top of it. But anyway, his last game as coach at Michigan, he was a lot more relaxed that week than he was any other week throughout the season. And we realized that he knew that at the time it was going to be his last game at Michigan. He kind of took it all in. It was great.
But this is Harbaugh. Like you got to win this one. Like when you say Michigan's back, Michigan's not back until you beat Ohio State. You're going to be favored going into this game.
I don't understand that. I don't understand it.
I think Michigan's been better.
I know Michigan has been better, but anything that everybody says to me, "Hey, this is your year," and then or I get the high register like, "Hey." Like this is it, right? Like I get that higher register, which I'm not a fan of, and so I'm like, look, anything that ails Ohio State, whether it's in their locker room or in their offense or whatever's going on in the back end of their defense, it will all go away in time for kick, and then it just comes down to executing. And yeah, based on what we've seen so far this year over the last 6 weeks, it does. It looks like it could be our year, Dan. You know what I'm saying? Like it very well could be. You never know.
Could you see Harbaugh coaching in the NFL?
No. His parents live next door to him.
Yeah.
He sends his kids over to their grandparents. His grandparents can watch his kids play in his backyard from their window. I mean, those are things that, we all look at athletes and coaches as if they are just athletes and coaches and not human beings first. I think that is something that you can't discount. Obviously, someone throws a ton of money at him, and he loves the idea of going back. I don't know. But right now, I just don't see it.
But if he doesn't beat Ohio State,
can we not have that conversation? If he doesn't, it would be patently disappointing. There's no other way to put it. Like, this is the year it should happen.
But can he wear out his welcome at Michigan?
I mean, what do you mean by that? By not winning enough?
By not beating Ohio State. He's made them relevant.
Yeah, I mean, and they're playing better, and they have a better. I think this is the year that we're not going to have this conversation.
Oh,
how does that sound?
Okay. All right. Well, I wonder what happens.
You finally beat it out of me. I mean, I'm trying not to say this sort of stuff, but I don't think he will wear his welcome out. I just don't.
What about John Harbaugh reportedly on the hot seat?
Right, I know.
The Ravens.
Wouldn't that be amazing if RG3 or Lamar Jackson is the one that, quote unquote, saves his job there? It's entirely possible that one of those guys goes on. And I know people would say, well, RG3 hasn't played in years. It looks like one of those two is going to play this weekend.
But that would be a tune-in factor. If you said Lamar Jackson was going to start, I would watch the Ravens.
Yes, you would.
It's hard to watch the Ravens.
They have not had a dynamic player on offense in years.
Yeah.
And that's been their problem on that side of the ball.
I got a scenario for you.
What is it?
Urban Meyer steps down.
Mm-hmm.
John Harbaugh takes over the Ohio State.
Are you saying that just to piss me off?
No, I do. And I don't have sources close to me telling me that.
He would never do that. He'd get a job in the NFL in 2 seconds flat.
Well, I know he could get a job.
I don't think he wants to go to college, let alone the Ohio State University. I'm sure they have about 15 people who would line up from their own history to get somebody from somewhere
Don't
else.
be such a buzzkill. Like, just, have some fun.
Well, I mean, if anybody's killing anybody's buzz right now, I think you're killing mine.
Well, I'm an Ohio State, fan growing up.
Are you still like?
I was.
Do you, so when it comes down to that game on Saturday,
no, it doesn't hurt me. It used to.
But you're sitting down. You'd prefer to see Ohio State win. Because I know you're professional. You're professional.
It's not the best story. So Michigan beating Ohio State's the better story.
What's the better story out of tonight's Thursday night football game?
If Green Bay wins.
See, I'd go the other way around.
Why?
Green Bay loses.
Oh, okay. So not Seattle wins, but Green Bay loses.
Well, that would be the concept of what you were talking about. I heard driving in. The most passive-aggressive relationship in the NFL right now is Aaron Rodgers towards his coach. Yeah. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Anybody who's been in a passive-aggressive relationship in any part of your life will see what Aaron Rodgers is saying from the podium every now and then about his coach. And so if they lose to go to 4-5-1, I think Rodgers would be in a position where we'll hear his latest version of relax or I've got this, and potentially go on some sort of tear. I think that to save yet another season and potentially McCarthy even staying there.
That can't happen.
McCarthy staying there, right?
Can't.
I think this is the end, too.
It can't. But how did they allow this to get to this point, Rich? There was no secret of there was some kind of discourse. There was a disconnect between these two, and that you allow this to go into the season. And it didn't take long before Rodgers is rolling his eyes.
I don't know. I think if I'd have, I know, to use the parlance of sports talk radio, point the finger of blame, it would have to be Ted Thompson, who just, was Mr. Groundhog Day, just ran everything back every single year under the same concept. And now there's a new general manager there, and Brian Gutekunst, and we'll see if that changes anything, getting his quote-unquote guy in there after a dozen years. It's been a long time that they have been there. I mean, it was funny. Have you had Greg Jennings on your show? Have you had him?
No.
You got to get him on. He's great. I mean, we had him on a couple weeks ago just talking about his history with the Packers and his take on this situation is pretty damn good. And he was telling stories that's right, that McCarthy was there from the Favre to Rodgers transition. It's been forever and a day since they did all of that. And, told a story about how, Favre would hear McCarthy call a play in his ear, and they'd hear it in the huddle. And
he'd change it.
And he'd change it. And he'd say, we're not doing that. He just called a different play. And he thinks that Aaron Rodgers is doing the same thing right now. I mean, it really is. We'll see what happens tonight. So that's, to me, I think, an interesting take. And Seattle needs it more, I really think, because Seattle is in a division where they're not going to be able to win it. So that wild card, they got to be the best they possibly can. Rodgers can go 4-5-1, rip off 5 of the next 6, and maybe get 9 wins anyway. Yeah,
just trying to figure this out now, where teams are headed. Like the Giants. Are the Giants, should they want to win, try to win?
I think the Raiders are showing what you should do right now. And I think the Jets should do the same damn thing right now. But the guy, the issue is you can't really tank in the NFL by the fact that guys, when they put their helmets on, their pads on, their shoes on, they're not going out to lose. And coaches aren't going to do that either. But if you pare the roster down as much as the Raiders have right now, then you really don't have much of a chance anyway, and the tent folds up in the second or third quarter as opposed to the fourth.
This is front office tanking is what it is.
With the Raiders?
It's just like the Marlins. Derek Jeter took offense when Bryant Gumbel said, you're tanking. He goes, no, those, the product, they're playing hard out there. No,
Right.
It's what you put out there.
Exactly.
That's where it's front office
Right.
tanking.
And the Raiders, like sending Bruce Irvin packing. I mean, the number of players that they've sent packing for whatever reason, because they're not one of their type of players or they're not, part of the future. I mean, the Bruce Irvin cut. I mean, especially from a coach that had been lamenting about the lack of pass rush since he didn't keep Khalil Mack. I mean, it really is something else. So with the Giants, it's a different story, though. They've got a new head coach who doesn't have 9 more years left on his contract, like Gruden. And they have also a legacy quarterback and a dynamic offense that should be winning more than most. So while yes, it would behoove them to have a higher draft pick for their future, I think that they're not in that position mentally.
Yes, McLovin.
But question for both you guys, is it worth tanking if you don't need a quarterback or if there's not the obvious quarterback? Like the Raiders, if they want to keep Carr, do they need to tank or?
Well, I mean, I think that's the third rail ultimate subject with the Raiders is what does Gruden really think of Carr? It all comes down to it.
I can't see him as his quarterback when they get to Vegas.
So he's got a huge ass contract too. So I don't know who's going to acquire it, what they're going to do, what they would do with Derek Carr. So I almost went David. Damn it, I do that every damn time. So that's the ultimate is what will Gruden think? He's going to have 3 potentially top 20 draft choices. Right now it's 1 and 12 and 23 right now. With the Bears being the one, congratulations, Paulie, being the one that is the worst of the first-round draft choices.
Feeling good.
Are you really?
Not really. No, I think we're one and done in the playoffs. Playoff team, you get on a opposing field and they'll get exposed.
Well, that's all you need this year anyway.
Yeah. If I told you they were going to make the playoffs this year, you would have said, sign me up, even if you're going to be one and done.
No doubt. And Trubisky feels like a good NFL quarterback, definitely out of that bust zone. I think that's fair.
Well, clearly what the Rams did with Sean McVay and then the Bears did with Nagy, take a young offensive-minded coach and put him to the hip of your second-year quarterback and let's see what flies. That is in this copycat league what I think everybody's going to try and do as well. Maybe the Jets with Sam Darnold. We'll see what happens with Dallas, Well,
that's another thing. We're talking to Rich Eisen, NFL Network host. The situation with the Cowboys, and you start with Jerry Jones with Jason Garrett. Like at some point, does Jerry just admit, you know what, I made a mistake here, or keeping Jason is not the right guy, or do you think?
Man,
because Jerry doesn't admit to mistakes very often, but it just feels like he's compounding this, and I do believe Dak Prescott is attached to Jason Garrett as well. So if you change your coach,
right. Well, they're going to have to decide on whether to give Dak that second contract or not the next year, pretty much. And so,
would you?
I would not. No, I would not.
You don't think he's the franchise quarterback?
I mean, would you give him a $50, $60 million, $70, $80 million contract? I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Certainly in this day and age where you go find your next one and go 5 years.
Yeah.
The problem with the Dallas Cowboys is that they've made so much other mistakes. Like Romo, I think, is still dead money on their cap right now. Now's the time when you've got a guy who's on his first contract built around like the Russell Wilson plan, the one that obviously the Rams are on right now and the Eagles are on right now, and that you're able to win now. Like that's the idea now. Go ahead and do that again. Certainly, since the one thing you do have to point out with Jerry is the guys that he's been drafting lately, more often than not, are panning out. I mean, Byron Jones, Jalen Smith, everybody blew him up. The guy is just sideline to sideline, a monster. Van Der Esch instead of Calvin Ridley. Everybody blew him up on that. We'll see if Amari Cooper's worth the one, but he's really running routes. I can't imagine if that guy was running routes like that in Oakland, where was he the last 2 years? So we'll see what happens over the next few weeks. I think they should win this game in Atlanta. They then have 2 games at home on Thanksgiving, and then a week later against 2 NFC South opponents. Against the Washington Redskins, and then the Saints, who I think, they're the front runners right now out of the NFC, and I picked the Rams to win the Super Bowl before the season.
Yeah, but that's just Still a lot of football with
I know.
this. But if I said Chiefs, Rams, Saints, you could have
2.
Yeah.
Can I choose the Rams and the Saints?
You think those are the 2 best teams?
Yeah, I do. I just need to see more Chiefs defensively.
Where's Kansas City in the pantheon of AFC title contenders?
Number 1.
You think they're the best team in the AFC?
I do. I do
Okay,
because I need with the Patriots lately. I think they would have trouble going point for point. That 43-30-40 result, I think, would be different right now. I don't know what's going on with Gronk. I don't know what's going on offensively that they're not putting up as many points right now.
Yeah.
So if they had to play again, I think it would be a different result. Pittsburgh is playing better. And I think, the Le'Veon not coming back might be good for the locker room. Was that stuff, I need to know this for my show later, was that stuff pulling from his locker fake? Are they trying to pass that off as fake, that they were yanking the chain of the media in there? Or?
From what I was reading, I got the impression that they were being cute. They're not going to actually steal his sneakers.
That was
and
bizarre,
keep his
man.
stuff.
I was going to ask you about that when I saw it, and you would have thought that just out of respect, they'd say, hey, here's your gear. It seemed like it was a bit that the Steeler players were going, hey, early Christmas here, and they were joking to the camera.
I'm telling you, the one thing, one of the many things, but this is a top 5 things I don't understand from fan bases in the NFL is the Mike Tomlin hate in Pittsburgh. That people would just there are some Steeler fans just get rid of him. He doesn't, well, I mean, I hear that because they don't beat the Patriots year in and year out. That they're not as dominant in the AFC year in and year out as the Patriots. They lost against the Patriots this year. If they lose again in Week 15, you'll hear it again. But there is an iceberg in Pittsburgh, and we see just the tip of it. I mean, just the tip of it. The other day when Tomlin was asked about Le'Veon Bell for the umpteenth time, the day or 2 days before he was slated to either come back or not for the rest of the year, Tomlin's like, I got a locker room of guys that I'm worried on right now, which is, a great way of using the coaching cliche of I can control only what I can control, and I'm only coaching the guys who are here. And so I'm saying as well, he could have easily finished the sentence saying, did you not see Antonio Brown go clock 100 in his Batmobile the other day on the day of the game against Carolina? Did you not see, my quarterback who is an all-world first ballot Hall of Famer, but is also a Hall of Famer in terms of saying one sentence too many every time there's a microphone in front of him. And that's 2 important guys here. I mean, we could go on and on and on. So the locker room that decides the day Lev Bell's not coming back, let's either raid his locker for fun or raid his locker for real, is the reason why I don't put Pittsburgh, I guess, up with Kansas City right now. Kansas City, I know usually loses to Pittsburgh head-to-head, but not with this kid Mahomes. He's a total difference maker.
Yeah, I just think people look at Mike Tomlin and, does he outcoach you? Does he win games where he outcoaches somebody? And I think that's the knock on him. And also the locker room. There's always drama in that locker room. Always.
Right.
More than anybody else. And the drama gets out of the locker room more than anybody else. So I have to hold him accountable for some of these things.
Sure, but why can't we say that Tomlin outcoached Ron Rivera this past week? Just because they put up 52 and that's not his side of the ball?
In a big game.
I mean,
in a big game.
But I mean, again, Antonio Brown clocked 100 miles an hour the day of the game. Whose job is it to tell, hey, coach, look, I know you're not on Twitter, but guess what?
Did he make it on time?
AB has this Batmobile, and he went 140 mile an hour zone. Whose job is it to tell Tomlin that? And then he figures it out. He figures it out, and so many teams don't year in and year out. But I guess we'll see.
Do you have any advice for Fritzy? You being a former stand-up comedian?
I'm so proud of you for doing that.
I appreciate that.
You are welcome.
It's very scary.
I've heard the critique in your direction, but anybody who listens to the show knows you use way too many words to get to the point. And then once you make the point, you use way too many words to get out of the story, which is an absolute handicap for a stand-up comedian.
It is.
So,
but he's very proud of you.
Economy of words is a point I would make to you, not only because it's important for stand-up comedy, but just the phrase itself is an economy of words, so it's easy for you to remember. But keep doing it because you clearly have a passion for it, and it makes everything else in life easier. And you deserve all the kudos in the world, even though I guess I just sliced you up a little bit.
Well,
here
but it means
so.
it means a lot, and the criticism is the constructive criticism is well taken.
Okay.
And it is a frightening thing, but as you know, you would never have tried it. There's something really special about going up there and making people laugh. I don't know what's a bigger high than
Coming
making
up
different
next
people
on
laugh.
HBO, Economy of Words, the Todd Fritz special.
Yes, correct. There
I
you
don't know who's
go.
going to tune in for that, but it has got a catchy title.
Economy of Words.
Well,
and
I guess-
and he's right. Chris Mannix said that he's the Sacramento Kings of stand-up comedy.
Well, that means that you're on the
Up and coming,
upside.
yeah.
You're on the upside here.
That's not terrible.
I never thought it'd compare De'Aaron Fox with
yes,
with Todd Fritz.
Sorry to
but-
interrupt, but how would Todd know it's special to go up on stage and make people laugh? I mean,
Wow.
Rich used to do it.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Wow.
There was a chuckle or two Monday night.
I don't know what it's like to be a running back in the NFL because I never.
But I heard the comedian before you totally died on stage, right?
It was a.
But that's not
it was a
good.
tough
That's
night.
not good. You want. I know that in immediate contrast, you don't want to follow somebody that's totally killed, but you want the audience to be up.
in a laughing mood.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because at Caroline's, Todd was bookended by two new comics
Yeah.
who crushed.
Who were very
they,
good.
they were hilarious.
So.
and
was
so
that-
Todd was sort of.
He didn't get any spillover.
He did not get any spillover. That momentum did not carry
it was
into.
as if the Oreo,
yeah.
the cookie, was
Yeah.
in the middle of the two.
Yeah, people were taking out
stuffing.
magazines and starting to read.
Unentertaining
The
filling.
reverse Oreo happened right there. Okay.
He's
Reverse Oreo.
Rich Eisen from the NFL Network and Rich Eisen Show on DirecTV. Audience Network, Channel 239. Ricardo, great to see you, buddy. Thank
Okay,
you for
DP.
stopping by.
Back at you.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.